Okay, so let's just dive right into this. We're going to take a look at a single sentence, just one line from the book of Revelation. And this is a line that it's completely shaped how millions of people imagine the end of the world. But what if that common understanding, the one we all kind of know, is missing the point entirely? Listen to this. Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. Wow, that imagery is it's so intense, isn't it? You can practically see it in your head, right? 7 angels, these 7 bowls just brimming with divine fury, and this one single command that unleashes, this final terrible judgment on the whole world. All right, so where do we even begin with this? Let's start with our anchor point. What we have here is a really clear, super direct command. And where is it coming from? Well, it's issued from the most sacred place imaginable, the temple. We're talking about the very dwelling place of God. You can't get a higher seat of authority than that. And on the surface, this all seems pretty straightforward. The meaning feels obvious, right? It reads just like a prophecy, a look into the future, predicting these terrible global plagues, a literal final judgment on all of humanity. And honestly, for centuries, that is exactly how most people have read it. But here's where it gets interesting. To really get what's going on, we have to rewind. We've got to go all the way back to the original Greek. Because, sometimes just a couple of key words can completely flip the script on the entire story. So let's take a closer look. Okay, so the first word we need to look at is the one for wrath, orge. Now, this is crucial. This isn't talking about some impulsive, flying off the handle kind of rage. It's not a chaotic fit of anger. The Greek word here implies something much more deliberate. It's a settled, judicial anger. Think righteous indignation. So yeah, less like a cosmic tantrum and way more like a judge's final, carefully considered verdict. Next up, we've got the action itself, ekcheo, which means to pour out. And again, the specific word choice here matters. This isn't a violent dump or some kind of chaotic splash. This word is the one you'd use for carefully pouring a liquid offering, like a libation from a shallow bowl. It's deliberate. It's almost ceremonial. And then there's the location. Where is this command coming from? The naos, the temple. But here's the thing. Naos doesn't just mean the general temple grounds. It refers specifically to the inner sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, the absolute center, the very dwelling place of God. So this command isn't just being shouted from the outer courts, it's coming from the very heart of divine holiness. And you know what? This kind of imagery, it's not just appearing out of thin air. It's got deep, deep roots in the Old Testament. It's echoing these patterns of divine judgment you see all over the place, in books like Ezekiel, Exodus, and the Psalms. So when you put it all together, you've got this judicial anger, this ceremonial pouring, and it's all coming from the inner sanctuary. It paints a very specific picture, doesn't it? This is a formal, holy, and official act of justice. Okay, so let's recap. We have this ceremonial act of judicial wrath. It's coming from the very heart of the temple, and it's meant to be poured out upon the earth. Everything seems to be pointing to one pretty clear conclusion. But this is where the story takes a sharp and, really unexpected turn. The command itself seems so direct. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if we've misidentified the actual target? What if that phrase, upon the earth, isn't describing the victim of the wrath at all, but just the location, the stage where it's all poured out, but on someone else entirely? And this is where a completely different and pretty radical interpretation comes into play. This view suggests that this incredibly dramatic scene in Revelation, it's not a prophecy about some terrifying future at all. Instead, it's a symbolic retelling of the past. Specifically, it's about the full measure of God's judicial wrath, that orge we talked about, being poured out once and for all on Jesus at the cross. Now, this isn't an idea that just comes out of nowhere. It finds its roots in passages like this one from Isaiah. So in this framework, the cross becomes the moment where divine justice was completely and totally satisfied. It wasn't kicked down the road for some future event. It was all concentrated right there on a single point in history. Okay, so think about this. If the target of the wrath changes from the world to Jesus, well, then the meaning of all 7 of those plagues has to change too, right? They stop being literal future disasters, and instead they become powerful symbols that describe the massive spiritual consequences of the cross. And this is where it gets really fascinating,
because each bowl gets completely reimagined. The first bowl, the one with the sores, in this view, that represents the painful truth of Jesus' life and how it exposes the sin in humanity. The second bowl, turning the sea to blood, becomes a symbol that without his atoning blood, there's no spiritual life. See how it works? Each bowl becomes a different lens for viewing the profound, world-altering impact of that one single event. And it all leads up to the seventh bowl's cry, "It is done," which, of course, directly echoes Jesus' final words from the cross, "It is finished."
This just shows you how deep the symbolism can go. Take the sixth bowl, for instance. You've got these forces gathering for Armageddon. Well, in this interpretation, they're all recast. The dragon, that's Satan, the ultimate spiritual opposition. The beast, that's the Roman Empire, the political power that actually executed Jesus. And the false prophet, that's the religious system that condemned him in the first place. So you see, in this view, Armageddon isn't some future battlefield. It was the spiritual collision that happened right there at the cross. So what we're left with here are two profoundly different ways of reading the exact same verse. It's incredible. One perspective looks to the future, and it's filled with fear of these coming plagues. The other looks to the past, and it's filled with a sense of awe at this incredible sacrifice. So here's the bottom line, the really crucial point. The exact same words, coming from that holy temple, can tell two completely, and I mean completely different stories. Is it a terrifying warning about what's still on the horizon? Or is it a profound declaration of something that has already been accomplished? And what's just so fascinating about all this is that the text itself doesn't change. The words on the page stay exactly the same. The Greek is the Greek, the command is the command. The only thing that changes is your starting point, the lens you're looking through. And that one single shift, it transforms everything about what the passage means. You know, this whole exercise really leaves us with a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond this one verse from Revelation. Because think about it, whether we're looking at ancient scripture or a legal document, or heck, even just watching the news today, it's such a powerful reminder to always ask yourself, what's the core premise I'm starting with here? And how might changing that one thing reshape the entire story?